Hey everybody, Jeff here, and today I'm going to show you how you can use your pentatonic scales stacked on top of each other to cover the changes of a minor blues. So let's check it out. Before we get going, as always, I would ask you to please like and subscribe to my channel, hit that alert bell, it really helps me out quite a bit. Also, I have one of my favorite courses on sale that really aligns with what we're going to talk about today, and that is called Pentatonic Creativity, and it's the minor edition. More about that on later, but it's on sale for a special price above or below. So let's run over the chord changes of this A minor blues. First of all, we have an A minor 7 chord as our 1 chord. Our 4 chord in the blues is going to be D minor 7, and the 5 chord is E minor 7. Okay, so those are our 3 chords. They're all going to be minor 7 chords or minor chords. Either one's going to work just great. So here's the trick. Anytime you have a minor 7 chord, in this case we have those 3 minor 7 chords, A minor 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, you can use each of those chords' minor pentatonic scales. Each chord in the minor blues can take its own pentatonic scale. So what I mean by that, we have an A minor chord as our first one, A minor 7. We can play an A minor pentatonic scale over that chord. A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, and C. A minor 7 is spelled A, C, E, G, A, C, E, G, A. If you look at A minor pentatonic, A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, C. They are super close. An A minor 7th arpeggio is 4 notes, A, C, D, E, and G, and that's the root, the flat 3, the 5, and the flat 7. A minor pentatonic, or a pentatonic scale, is root, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. So it is the 1 note more to make it a pentatonic scale. Now, of course, that D in the A minor pentatonic scale is not a note we're going to probably sit on too much, but it's a really beautiful passing tone. It's the 11th. We can get this really cool sound of an A minor 11 chord. So that note is sort of a passing sound. As you've known, we've been playing A minor pentatonic over an A minor chord for really probably a long time. Now when we go to the D minor 7 chord, this concept holds exactly true in the same way. We can play a D minor pentatonic scale over our D minor 7 chord. D minor 7 is spelled D, F, A, C, D, F, A, C. D minor pentatonic is spelled D, F, G, A, C, D, F, G, A, C. Okay, so the D minor pentatonic scale contains a D minor 7th arpeggio with an extra note. So a pentatonic scale can be seen as a minor 11th arpeggio. But that's starting to get a little deeper than you need to think about it right now. If you play D minor pentatonic over the D minor chord, you're going to hit the chord tones plus 1 of the D minor 7 chord. So you're making the chord changes by just using your pentatonic scale. Okay, now we can do the same exact thing for our 5 chord, E minor 7. E minor pentatonic is spelled E, G, A, B, D, and E. E minor 7 is E, G, B, and D. So we have that extra, once again, that extra note, which is the 4th or the 11th, depending on how you want to hear it. Now the trick is to be able to do this in position. So I'm going to play it for you now. I'm going to run through these 3 changes in one position, playing over the blues so we can hear what it sounds like. A minor pentatonic. D minor, A minor, E minor, D minor, A minor. Now with some music, A minor, D minor, A minor, E minor, D minor, A minor. Once again, A minor pentatonic. Same line, but in D minor. A minor pentatonic. Same line with E minor. D minor, A minor. So here's all I'm doing. Once again, I'm really simplified. I have A minor pentatonic right here. Over my 1 chord, my A minor 7 chord. I'm outlining the chord as it goes by perfectly. When I go to my D minor 7, I want to play D minor pentatonic. So I take that fingering right here. We call fingering number 4 sometimes. And you can go down to the lower notes of the scale. And I want to go to the E minor pentatonic for my 5 chord. I can see it right here. It's a pretty quick change in the blues when it comes through, but it sounds super sweet when you nail it. We have E, G, A, B, D, E, G, A, B. Okay, so here's A minor pentatonic once again. Here's my D minor pentatonic, say starting from the 6th string. Back to A minor. Now E minor from the lowest string. D minor. A minor. Did you hear the chord changes as they went by? I did, right? So let's hear it again. Here's A minor pentatonic over the A minor 7. How about D minor? A minor. How about my E minor? D minor, A minor. Now, one way to practice this is to run up and down all the scales in position, which I highly recommend you do. But we can also take a smaller segment, so we can use 3 strings. I'm going to play it on the D, G, and B string. Here's my A minor pentatonic, my D minor pentatonic. So the only note there different is going to be this F. Then to my E minor pentatonic, a little trickier fingering wise. Here I'm going to have to drop down this C to the B. So let's hear how that's going to sound. I'm going to stick to those 3 strings in position. A minor. The D minor. A minor. How about the E minor? D minor. Now a little more music, less scaly. Now, just to dig deeper, the reason why this all works, if we put A minor pentatonic, D minor pentatonic, and E minor pentatonic into one full scale, we would get A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. We would get an A minor scale. But if I said to you, hey, just play an A minor scale over the top of this A minor blues, but hit the right notes in the right time and the right chords, that's more difficult to me. So this is all like mind tricks in a certain way. If I think about an A minor scale over an A minor blues, I find I play a certain way. If I think about 3 separate minor pentatonic scales stacked on the top of each other, I prefer the way that sounds. I don't end up playing as scaley sounding, if that makes sense. If you experiment with both and see what I'm talking about, it's a common approach or mind game or trick that musicians use all the time, from like John Coltrane. Robin Ford talks about this, John Scofield. A lot of players I know think, yeah, it's that scale, but sometimes I think about it in different pentatonic scales, it really, really helps quite a bit. So what next? You want to try to do this in every position. That's super important as well. But now let's go to another position that we might be familiar with, the 12th fret. Here's our A minor pentatonic scale. Now our D minor pentatonic scale is what we'd normally call fingering number 2 of the minor pentatonic scale. So that's starting on the flat 3 of the scale. Back to the A minor. And our E minor, D minor, A minor. Once again, don't you hear those chord changes as opposed to me just playing an A minor scale? You didn't hear any of those kind of chord changes because selectively choosing those notes of the pentatonic scale, we are outlining the minor 7th arpeggio. It's pretty cool. So let me just play it up here. Hear how it sounds. So you see I play the same exact idea, but up around the 12th fret. This is the difficult part, of course. You want to start to think about all these pentatonic scales and how they exist on top of each other. This is going to be a much cooler sound than you trying to change positions on your pentatonic scale. What I mean, if you know one fingering, so A minor to D minor, back down to A minor to E minor. It's not a way to play music. That's your thinking scales and you're jumping from one position to another, and it's always going to sound like junk, really, honestly. You can do that once or twice maybe in a solo, it could be interesting, but the real key to understanding and playing smoother, more advanced, for lack of a better word, musical lines is to do this stuff in position. And if you want to dig more into this topic of expanding your pentatonic creativity, ways to think about the pentatonic scales in different ways other than blues licks, I have my course called Pentatonic Creativity, Minor Edition, on sale using a special link above or below. And there are show you ways that you can look at say an A minor pentatonic scale, but not play the same old kind of blues licks. Maybe skipping string ideas, moving those through the scales differently, scale groupings. So ways to move around the fingerboard using a pentatonic scale to break out of the same old bluesy licks that you might feel like you're locked into. All right, so I hope that helps. I know it changed things for me dramatically. Every time you see a minor 7 chord, play a minor pentatonic scale. You're going to be good most of the times. Minor pentatonic scale over each chord of the minor blues sounds awesome. Simple as it can be. If you liked the video, please hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps my channel out quite a bit. Really quite a bit. All right, so until the next time, I'm Jeff McErlane, and I'll see you then.